Hi, my name is Ian Kinder. Welcome to the Live Safe Academy show. I've got two very important guests here today, Lou Chiodo and Joe Ferrera, and we're going to talk now to the police departments and why training is so important and how departments can be helped by these live virtual classes. So, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you both to take a brief moment to introduce yourself, and then we're going to attack some of these questions and talk about why this new training format is so beneficial to police departments. Joe, do you want to start by giving us a little brief background?
Sure. I'm Joe Ferrera. I have 43 years in law enforcement. Came on the job in 1977. I've been training law enforcement officers specifically in the areas of use of force since 1987. I'm on staff at a local academy. I teach nationally and internationally. I've presented at national and international conferences, and I work for a company called Human Factors Science.
And Luke, can you give us just a bit about your background too, please?
Oh, sure. Well, my background is within the martial arts community from way back there in 1964. Graduated college and was commissioned into the Marine Corps. Spent 10 years there as a Marine officer, and then started my law enforcement career in 1983. And almost immediately was brought into not only working into the field work, but into the training community. So I've been basically training in the police community for about 37 years. And then I started my company, Gunfighters Limited, back around 2001. And I've been training within the law enforcement community, and also within the CCW community from that point on to present.
Thank you, guys. You both have a lot of experience. And what I want to start with talking about is why is training so important? Because the challenge that a lot of departments have is they don't have a lot of money for training. So they don't have money where they can send their officers out to get trained. They don't have money where they can bring people in to do the training. But the problem is that training is a very small investment to prevent very big problems. And those big problems are not only problems expensive in the human sense that people get hurt, but they're also can cost a lot of money too. So, Joe, can you talk a little bit about why is training so important and how does training protect departments, not only from a safety point of view, but from a liability point of view?
Sure, sure, Ian. So let's look at what we're talking about a little more narrow focus. Broad focus, all training is important. Whether we're doing cognitive training to improve an officer's brain performance, how they write a report, how they talk to people, how they figure out problems and solve them, which is really one of the most important jobs an officer has, is problem solving and decision making. We can improve their mental performance, but we're also talking about improving their physical performance. Specifically in your podcast, you deal with some aspect of use of force. In your training, you deal with some aspect of use of force. And those are core critical skills that officers have to have. So when we talk about the importance of it, first and foremost, by improving officers' performance, both their brain training and their motor skill training, whether we're talking firearms, defensive tactics, emergency vehicle operation, all the core critical skills that also happen to be life preserving skills. When we improve their performance, we make them safer. When we improve their performance and make them safer, it goes without saying that we're making the entire community safer. The better the officer performs his or her tasks, the safer the officer is, and the community is safer. And that means actually less use of force. What we find when we improve an officer's competence is that we improve their confidence. When they perform any core critical skill better, they look, act, and feel more professional. And the people they deal with realize that almost immediately. I've walked into scenes in my career where people were ready to fight. And when the shortest guy got there, 5'2", 5'2.5", if you want to be technical, when the shortest guy got there, all of a sudden they calmed down and said, okay, I'll go to jail. And when I look at them and go, what's going on? They're like, well, you're small. You must know what you're doing or you wouldn't be a policeman, right? So confidence is just as important as competence. And when we look at performance psychology, we see there's actually a loop between improving competence and improving confidence. And the more we improve the officer's confidence, the more they want to try new things and learn new things and increase the performance of skills they already have. So that confidence competence loop is critical, not just in their performance and their professionalism, but when they reek of confidence because they know what they're doing, the people they're dealing with know that also. That in and of itself reduces the officer's liability, which reduces the department's liability because their performance is improving. It's obvious to everybody that their performance has improved, and bad guys don't try things as much as they would with an untrained or a low confidence officer, and that reduces everybody's liability. The officer does better, the city does better, the community does better, and that reduces everybody's liability.
And I think that's really important. And of course, we all have experience dealing with these issues in traditional in-person classes, but now we have an opportunity to help departments through these live virtual programs. And these are interactive learning programs. It's not passive learning like reading a book or watching a video. Officers have an opportunity to interact with the instructors, to ask them questions. They're being guided through physical skills when physical skills are being taught in the course, and they're doing that under the observation of the trainer who can make corrections and help them understand the skills more effectively. So these live virtual programs create a tremendous opportunity for departments, because now you can have a small department that doesn't have that budget to bring people in or send people out, but they can afford to sign up their officers in these type of programs, and they can do it right from the comfort and convenience of their own departments. So Lou, can you tell us a little bit about how can officers be benefited? How can departments be benefited by these live virtual programs?
Sure. Well, one of the things that I think that is really a benefit from doing virtual classes is that for many officers and their departments, they can be brought into an environment that otherwise they may not ever be able to get to. Training costs money, travel costs money. The ability to send larger numbers of people into training can often be curtailed just by the cost of it alone. What we can offer in virtual classes is the ability to take a number of their officers and provide them with the same type of training that they would get if they were to pack them up and have to fly them someplace to a facility or to someplace where the instructor is located, and be able to get quality instruction without having to put out so much money for it. And that money could be better used to train more people, use the money to buy equipment, things that oftentimes are, a critical thing for the departments is they don't have an unlimited budget to spend. So virtual training allows me or any of the other instructors involved to kind of come to them. And we can come to them via this same meeting that we have here over the internet and be able to provide quality instruction for them, the same type of instruction that they would get if they were with us in person. And we tailor the program to give them what they need out of our normal type of training classes we provide to help them so that when they do go to training, they have better things to train, things that might be more beneficial for them when they have to apply in the field.
And Joel, can you give us a little bit of perspective too about how you think these virtual programs can help departments and to help the individual, the officers?
Well, in this day and age, and especially with COVID running rampant, a lot of agencies have had to cut back on training. Many agencies that I'm aware of that I've worked with for years have had to take training budget funds and divert them to buying COVID gear, safety gear, because they need their officers protected. So from that perspective, when they don't have the wherewithal financially to be able to get their people to those classes, as Lou said, and he's very correct, it's not just the training that costs money, the travel costs money. And in smaller agencies, you might have to pay somebody overtime to cover the shift of the officer that's going to training. Whereas if they can come in off the road, off the street, and sit down at a computer and do what we call chunk training or training in little pieces, and still get in an 8-hour day, but maybe an hour here, an hour there. Some officers who are looking at life as they should, that they're in charge of their own fate, they're gonna sign up out of pocket. They're gonna sign up on their own and say, hey, I'll pay for this myself. I need this training. I need to improve my performance. Can we replicate many of the things that they need to do over a computer? Well, we can. There's plenty of studies that show that visualization training can be almost as effective as hands-on training. And therefore, by us demonstrating skills and those students repeating those skills and trying to replicate what they see us do. I mean, let's talk about books. In martial arts, why were kata and other techniques passed on from master to student? It's because they didn't have them written down. But it's 2020. Now we not only have books, we have the type of information passing that we're doing right now, talking over the internet and passing on information, and not just concepts, but actual skills through the computer. And an agency can obviously take advantage of that by doing a lot of core critical skill training right over the internet.
That's great. And, one of the other things I think comes up a lot is people say, what is this virtual training really like? Because I think in a lot of people's minds, it is just passively in their mind, like watching a YouTube video. But the reality is we can not only exchange or convey concepts through virtual training, but we can actually perform physical skill development. So people can be practicing physical skills under the supervision of the instructor, having the feedback from the instructor to improve their physical skills. And the biggest part of all this training, whether physical skills are included or not, and again, that depends on the topic, is this ability to interact with the instructor and ask questions, get clarification, and build on the information that they're learning, and making sure that when they walk away from the class, they're really understanding not only the concepts, but how those concepts apply to them, how they can use those concepts. So Lou, to kind of end with you, because I know you just got done teaching a class on combat shooting methods, and that was a virtual program. We had people from all around the country that participated in that class. Kind of give people a feel for what can they expect if they bring us in to work with their officers.
Well, that's a great question, because I think that that's at the core of what most people would want to know is, okay, if I do this thing, what am I going to get out of it? Well, the interesting thing is, like you've just indicated, we've just done a complete program that dealt with close quarter combat shooting. And the neat thing about it was I was able to present the material exactly the same way as if I was physically with them. Short of just going out and actually doing the live fire, everything that we said and everything that we did in that program was done exactly the same way as I would do it if I was standing in front of them, actually given the lecture portion of it. And then when we were doing the drilling that I developed for the program, it would be done the same way, whether I was with them physically or not. And the neat thing is that because this is a two-way street when we're doing this thing, I can observe what they're doing via my screen, and I could make instant corrections if we needed to do that. I could demonstrate to them the same way as I would demonstrate to them if we were in an in-person class, what I was asking them to do. And what we developed over the course of doing this is a way of training it so that even if we weren't on a range, we're bringing them right up to that point to where then we provided them with the actual drillings that we wanted them to do when they actually get out on the range to do live fire. So that what we did is we made this link between what we did virtually and then what we want them to do when they go out to the range. And then they were able to come back if they had any questions or any issues that came back from their training they did on the range, we could address it in training in a virtual way, so that they would continue to work on what we were doing in the virtual class every time that they go out to do their range training. One of the problems that I've seen that this virtual class really addresses is many times people don't really know what to do in their training. In other words, they need a guideline to follow to say that they're being brought from point A to point B to C, so that as they go in a longer process, the process builds on each other. And each one of these components that we're building upon builds their skills. And we're able to accomplish that virtually based on the way we've organized the class and based on the way it's presented. So by coming into the virtual realm here, we're able to give them the same information that we would give them in person and give them a program to follow so that when they do the last component of it, which is a live fire, that they're able to apply what we did in the virtual realm of the classroom.
And when we're doing the virtual training, we can cover a lot of different topics. We could cover firearm skills, both with handguns and long guns. We can cover unarmed self-defense skills and subject control methods. We can talk about things like the use of pepper spray, batons, and tasers. We could talk about things like traffic stops and the tactics that would apply to that. We can talk about human factors, survival stress, and how it affects human performance. We could talk about a whole lot of different topics that are really important for officer safety, for community safety. So if your department has any type of training needs, contact us and let us know, and let us work with you to develop programs that could help you guys. And if you do have any questions, first of all, go to the video description or the podcast description and look in the description for direct links to our school, how you can contact us, as well as live virtual classes that we have that you can already sign up for with both Lou, with Joe, and with myself. And of course, you can also, again, contact us for any specific needs that you have, any questions that you have. Because in addition to the programs that we already offer, we have all been developing custom programs where we can work with the individual needs that departments have, that officers have. I work a lot with private companies, so do Lou and Joe, and we can custom those needs too. So whatever your concerns are, contact us, let us know. We're glad to help. All the information is in the video show notes. It's in the podcast show notes, and you can contact us at livesafeacademy.com. Gentlemen, do you have any parting thoughts?
Well, I would just say it, I would really welcome the opportunity to work with any agency or any of the members of that agency, because our whole goal here is to make things safer for them.
Thanks, Lou. I appreciate that. I know both you and Joe have been dedicated to officers' safety for many, many years. You guys are phenomenal trainers. It's an honor for me to have a chance to work with you. And again, guys, we're here. If you have any questions, go to the video description, go to the podcast description for information, how to contact us directly. Thank you very much. Stay safe.